Today on Sporting Top 10, we'll be counting down the top 20 professional sports rivalries. And at number 20, we have the New York Mets versus the Philadelphia Phillies. Now this showcases two of the oldest cities in America, as Philadelphia, of course, being the birthplace of our nation, and New York being one of the biggest cities in the world, and the biggest city in the United States. But the Phillies own the series 493 to 456. And both of these clubs have sported great players. As for the Phillies through the 80s, they had third baseman Mike Schmidt. He's enshrined in Cooperstown. And they've had solid pitcher Steve Carlton. Where the Mets have had starting pitcher Doc Gooden and outfielder Darryl Strawberry, who was electric in his prime. At number 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Cowboys own this rivalry 65 to 51. But one of the best players of all time at wide receiver, Terrell Owens, has played for both of these teams. As Terrell Owens owns records for receiving, and he is one of the best players of all time. A little bit of a showboat, though. At number 18, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. Now, both of these teams, like the Mets and the Phillies, they're both some of the most recognized cities in America. And the Eagles have had their success with African American quarterbacks such as Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, and also the New York Giants have had their success with quarterbacks. They've had Phil Simms throughout the 80s and Eli Manning. They're both Super Bowl winners, and they had good wide receivers throughout the days as Gerard Carmichael of the Philadelphia Eagles, and the New York Giants, of course, have Odell Beckham Jr. Also, two of the best defensive ends we have ever seen in this game is Reggie White for the Philadelphia Eagles, and for the New York Giants, one of the best football players of all time, Lawrence Taylor. And at number 17, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers own this rivalry 26 to 21. But these two teams both have tough-nosed defenses. As throughout the years, the Steelers have had Troy Polamalu as one of the best strong safeties of all time, and James Harrison, an absolute quarterback eater. But the Ravens have also had Terrell Suggs, who has eaten up Ben Roethlisberger over the years. He's one of the few to actually handle Ben Roethlisberger pretty easily when he's trying to bring him down. Then also, you've had Ray Lewis, one of the best middle linebackers of all time. Then you have also had Ed Reed, who was a nice safety in his day. At number 16, we have the New York Rangers versus the New York Islanders. Now, these two battle over the same city for supremacy. And the Rangers own this series 163 to 159. As the Rangers have had great players throughout the years, like Mark Messier and goaltender Henrik Lundqvist, where the Islanders have had a dynasty where they won 4 Stanley Cups in a row, and Mike Bossy was probably the best player of all time. At number 15, we have the Edmonton Oilers versus the Calgary Flames. Now, the Calgary Flames own this series at 57 to 40, but they both sported great players. As for the Flames, you've had Johnny Gaudreau, who is one of the best players in hockey right now, and Jerome McGinley. But the Oilers have had the best player of all time, I think almost in any sport, Wayne Gretzky. And now this rivalry means a little bit more, because up in hockey country, in the province of Alberta, hockey is basically the only thing they have for professional sports, and it is religion up in Canada. At number 14, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Canadiens own this series 397 to 314. Now, this is hockey country too, as Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, and Montreal is one of the oldest cities in Canada. And this also means a bit more, as these are both original 6 franchises. The Canadiens also have the most Stanley Cups of any team in the National Hockey League with 23. At number 13, we have the Golden State Warriors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, this matchup wouldn't even be on here, but in the last 3 years, these teams have met 3 times in the NBA Finals. As 2 times the Warriors have won, and 1 time the Cavs have won. As the Warriors have won the series in 6 and 5 games, well, the Cavs took their series win to 7. It was one of the most classic games in NBA history. As you have Kevin Durant on the Golden State side, and also Stephen Curry. Also, you have knockdown three-point shooter Klay Thompson and defense enforcer Draymond Green. Well, also, you have LeBron James, one of the best players in NBA history, and also you have Kyrie Irving, but who is not on the Cavaliers anymore. At number 12, we have the Washington Capitals versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, this rivalry has been more prominent in recent years, as, of course, you have Alex Ovechkin for the Capitals side, and you have Sidney Crosby, probably the best player in hockey, on the Penn side. And the Capitals lead this series 144 to 119. At number 11, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys own the regular season series at 17 to 15 games, but it is the Super Bowls that these teams have been in that put them at a top rivalry. Because it's hard to be a top rivalry when you're only guaranteed to meet once every 4 years. But they've been in the Super Bowl 3 times, count them 3. And the Steelers have won 2 times, the Cowboys have won once, and they've all been really close and great games. At number 10, we have the New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys lead the series 63 to 46. And they both have young talent with Ezekiel Elliott, a running back for the Cowboys, and quarterback for the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and also one of the most electrifying players in all of football, Odell Beckham Jr. At number 9, we have Manchester United versus Manchester City. Now, this rivalry spans back decades and even a century, as these two teams battle over supremacy of one of the biggest cities in England. But Man United owns this series 72 to 50, and they've had 2 draws. But they both showcase great players throughout their history, as Manchester United has Wayne Rooney, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Paul Pogba, where Manchester City has Yaya Toure and Angel Di Maria. And next, we have FC Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Now, Real Madrid owns FC Barcelona in this series, as Real Madrid owns this series 95 to 20. They've had 6 draws, but they call this El Clasico for a reason, as these two teams have the 2 best players in all of world football, as Lionel Messi is one of the best midfielders in football history, and Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best players in soccer history. At number 7, we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. Now, this is one of the tightest rivalries we have on this list, and one of the longest rivalries we have on this list, as the Packers own the series 95 to 94, and they have 6 ties. These 2 teams are so close because they've had such great coaches over the years, as you have the GOAT in coaching, Vince Lombardi, who won the first 2 Super Bowls with the Packers back in the 60s. Then in the 80s, you had Mike Ditka and the very talented Chicago Bears. At number 6, we have the Chicago Cubs versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the Chicago Cubs have had great players over the years, as although through the curse, they have had Sammy Sosa, who is one of the most electrifying players in all of baseball. But the St. Louis Cardinals also had Mark McGwire around that time, and it was a period known as the home run chase, as they were both chasing records. And now in more recent years, you've had Albert Pujols for the St. Louis Cardinals, future Hall of Famer, and very recently, you've had Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, a great duo. At number 5, we have the Boston Bruins versus the Montreal Canadiens. Now, this is a matchup of another original 6. Both teams are original 6. And the Montreal Canadiens own this 466 to 338. Now, both of these teams have had great defenders in recent years, as the Zdeno Chara owns the back ice for the Boston Bruins, and the Montreal Canadiens just traded away P.K. Subban in a recent year. At number 4, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, both these teams came in the first NHL expansion in, I think, 1972, and they have been a rivalry ever since, battling over the state of PA. As the Flyers, though, own this series 172 to 114. But both these teams have had great players through the years, like for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, as they've won back-to-back NHL titles. At number 3, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the San Francisco Giants. Now, this is one of the longest rivalries we have on this list, as the Giants own this series 1,239 to 1,208. Absolutely really close. But both of these teams showcase great stars, as in recent years, Yasiel Puig and Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers, and Madison Bumgarner and catcher Buster Posey for the Giants. And also, the San Francisco Giants had Barry Bonds, one of the best home run hitters of all time. At number 2, we have the Boston Celtics versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, this rivalry is really high, as they are cross-conference opponents that are only guaranteed to meet 2 times during the regular season. But it is their work in the NBA Finals and postseason work that really does this rivalry justice. As the Boston Celtics had 17 world titles, and the Los Angeles Lakers have 16. They're the 2 top ones in the NBA. As this rivalry has spanned generations also. As in the 60s, you've had Bill Russell controlling the Celtics. They were dominant with Bob Cousy and Casey Jones. But also in the 70s, in the winding down of Bill Russell's career, you had Wilt Chamberlain winning one with Jerry West. Also in the 80s, you had Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, along with Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish for the Celtics, and James Worthy for the Lakers. And also, you've had some recent rivalry, as in 2008 and 2009, the Celtics and Lakers split the finals, as with great players like Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo, and Paul Pierce for the Celtics, and of course, one of the greatest of all time, Kobe for the Lakers. And at number 1, we have the New York Yankees versus the Boston Red Sox. Now, what else can you say about this rivalry? This showcases 2 of the most historic franchises in all of baseball, as the Yankees have 27 World Series titles, and the Red Sox are up there in double digits. They are both 2 of the top franchises in all of sports, as the Yankees have showcased great players throughout the early 2000s like Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter, and well, the Boston Red Sox have had players like David Ortiz and Dustin Pedroia. The rivalries in the 2000s were heated as brawls broke out frequently, and that's also part of a great rivalry. They genuinely don't like each other. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sporting Top 10.